Not Chrisean after finding out she was creeping around with Blueface behind her back.
So apparently, Chrisean recently spilled the tea on how she confronted Coi after catching her trying to sneak in some private time with Blue. Wild, right? Chrisean said she'd already hit Coi with several straight-up warnings to back off. But did Coi listen? Nope. She still decided she was going to link up with Blue on the low. Sneaky move. And get this, Jason Lee backed the whole thing up. He said Coi reached out to him months ago, snapping at him for interviewing Blue and Chrisean after that altercation went down. So yeah, receipts were pulled.
The Chrisean interview aired, she called me like, "Oh, I want to do the show, but like that's not a good look. You
right."
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that Chrisean said she was gonna be.
Chrisean might be chaotic, but Coi Leray getting physically attacked? Yeah, that wasn't on anybody's bingo card. That blind side hit different. So let's back it up real quick. If you're not caught up, here's the tea. Coi and Blueface were a thing back in 2020, and we're not talking casual vibes. Coi was genuinely into him, like caught feelings for him. The two of them were all over each other in public, touchy, flirty, the whole nine. Every time an interviewer mentioned Blue's name, Coi would literally glow, smiling, laughing, band-lushing like crazy. The girl was gone. But that whole romance, dead on arrival the second Chrisean entered the picture. Coi cut things off with Blueface because she wasn't about to sign up for the tornado of chaos that seemed to follow Chrisean everywhere she went. Plus, Blue's constant mess was just too much. And honestly, people cheered Coi on for that. They were like, she made the right call. She didn't need that kind of drama dragging her down, especially with her career just starting to take off. But even after Coi walked away from Blue, Chrisean kept coming for her. She was convinced there was still something sneaky going on between Coi and Blueface behind her back. And that wasn't even where things truly exploded. The real chaos kicked off when those studio photos of Coi and Blue surfaced on social media. They were all over each other, tongues out, mouths connected, literally licking each other's faces. It looked way more than friendly. That's when Chrisean completely lost her mind and went off on a full meltdown across her IG stories, basically threatening to catch Coi in person and make it physical. From Chrisean's perspective, Coi acted like she had moved on from Blue, distanced herself, befriended Chrisean, and then the second Blue and Chrisean got serious, Coi suddenly slid right back toward him. And yes, Blue is obviously a massive part of the problem here, but that man has the moral stability of wet tissue paper, so I don't even have words for him. But when you look at how Coi was moving, it honestly felt like she was deliberately poking at Chrisean just to get a reaction. And Coi wasn't backing down either. She fired right back and basically said, "All right, if it's like that, let's fight." And just when we thought this couldn't spiral any further, Blue's mom, Carlissa, never one to miss a moment in the spotlight, jumped into the chaos and picked sides in the most dramatic way possible. She publicly shaded Chrisean and basically crowned Coi as her favorite. Her message boiled down to, if you get another opportunity, leave that mess behind and go after a girl like Coi. I warned you before, but you thought I was just jealous. Carlissa inserting herself like that was bizarre. No one asked her, no one needed her input, and yet she still dove into the conversation head first like she was part of the original feud. And that is exactly what happened. Chrisean actually caught Coi and smacked her. Listen to this.
Glorilla, we in a sprinter. They already know me and the defense. She tried to get on the sprinter with me and Glow. Glow like, Rashawn on here, wait till I come out there. She come in, I look at her. She look at me. She's talking to Glow, popping her gum. She being smart though. She's saying funny looking at me. Cause the last thing I said to her was like, when I see you, it's up. I had the same energy. I grabbed my phone and slapped the in her face.
Jason Lee also got dragged into this mess too. He explained that Coi had called him furious about his interviewing Blue and Chrisean on his platform. According to Jason, Coi was heated. She felt like having them on the show, especially after Chrisean threatened her, was disrespectful and inflammatory.
Chrisean interview aired, she called me like, "Oh, I want to do the show, but like that's not a good look. You like you influential, like we want to celebrate you. You just had a big interview with Cardi B and then you interviewed Blueface and Chrisean. Like, so I said, well, Coi, I'm in the business of interviewing people. So like whether I'm interviewing, and Blueface and Chrisean's going to do numbers because they're hot right now. I didn't know she used to mess around with Blueface.
Right.
And I didn't know that Chrisean said she was gonna beat her ass when she saw her. But now you tainted the relationship that you could have been.
So yeah, Chrisean and Coi were never pretending to be besties. Everyone knew there was tension, but almost nobody realized it had spilled into real life and turned physical. Chrisean finally broke it down. After a performance with Glorilla back in June, the crew hit the club to celebrate. Then Coi rolled in, and according to Chrisean, she started moving like she wanted a problem. Things heated fast. Chrisean lost patience and launched the phone straight at Coi's face, and the impact was so real that Coi walked away with visible injuries.
Right.
What did it say?
She was upset that I interviewed you guys. I don't know. I guess, you know, I don't know. You guys had a history before, right?
Yeah, because I'm genuine. I thought she wanted to do a collab with some music, but really she was just trying to out me out the plan and bag my nigga and some bullshit. And I'm like, you can have yo. I just want the verse at the top song.
The entire situation took on a completely different dimension when you factor in one critical detail. Chrisean was visibly pregnant throughout this entire confrontation. That single fact fundamentally altered how everyone involved could respond, creating an impossible situation where normal reactions were completely off the table. According to multiple eyewitnesses who were present during the incident, Coi's body language and demeanor suggested she was absolutely ready to defend herself. People who saw it go down said you could see it in her eyes. She wanted to respond. She was prepared to stand her ground, but she couldn't. She was physically restrained, not just by her own judgment, but by security personnel who recognized the delicate and potentially dangerous nature of the situation. The security team's intervention wasn't arbitrary. They specifically held Coi back because Chrisean was pregnant, and everyone understood the potential consequences if things escalated physically. It created this incredibly frustrating dynamic where Coi essentially had to absorb whatever was happening without being able to respond in kind, all because of circumstances beyond her control. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Coi made a decision that surprised a lot of people. She chose not to pursue legal action. She didn't file a police report, didn't press charges, and essentially let the whole thing go from a legal standpoint. And according to sources close to the situation, that decision wasn't about weakness or fear. It was specifically out of consideration for Chrisean's pregnancy. Think about that for a moment. Despite whatever happened during that confrontation, despite any anger or hurt feelings, Coi made the conscious choice to factor in Chrisean's condition and the well-being of an unborn child. She could have easily pursued assault charges or taken other legal routes, but she chose not to escalate things in that direction, reportedly because she didn't want to contribute to additional stress or complications during Chrisean's pregnancy. That's actually a remarkably mature decision when you consider the circumstances. It shows a level of restraint and consideration that goes beyond just personal beef. But here's where Coi's grace and restraint might be running out. Recently, Chrisean sat down for an interview where she not only discussed the incident, but essentially bragged about it. She openly admitted, on camera for everyone to hear, that she went after Coi without provocation. She made it sound like she was proud of what went down, like it was something to celebrate rather than regret. And that interview has apparently changed the entire calculation for Coi. Word on the street is that she's now reconsidering her decision to let things go. When someone shows you mercy, shows you grace, takes the high road specifically to protect you in your situation, and then that person turns around and publicly celebrates what they did to you, that's going to change how you feel about your previous generosity. Sources suggest that Coi is now seriously thinking about pursuing legal action after all. Chrisean's decision to publicly boast about the incident may have been the thing that pushed Coi from, "I'll take the high road," to, "Actually, we're going to handle this properly." The online response to Chrisean's interview was swift and almost universally critical. Social media erupted with people calling her out from every angle. Comments flooded in pointing out that she had absolutely no business putting her hands on anyone, pregnant or not. People highlighted the fact that she initiated physical contact without provocation and then had the audacity to brag about it later. Twitter threads dissected every aspect of her admission. Instagram comment sections turned into debates about accountability, pregnancy, and appropriate behavior. TikTok videos analyzed the situation from multiple perspectives, and the overwhelming consensus was that Chrisean was completely in the wrong, both for the initial confrontation and for her attitude about it afterward. What made the backlash even intense was the fact that she admitted it was unprovoked. There's a huge difference between we got into an argument and things got physical, and I went after someone who wasn't doing anything to me. That distinction mattered to a lot of people watching this unfold. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Blueface, and his apparent role in creating this entire mess. This confrontation didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened within the context of Blueface's complicated and often chaotic relationship dynamics, where multiple women have found themselves caught up in drama that he seems to create or at minimum enable. So here's the million-dollar question. Did Chrisean actually have legitimate reasons to confront Coi about Blueface? Was there something real there? Some actual boundary that was crossed? Or some disrespect that needed to be addressed? Or was she completely out of line, what people call out of pocket, going after someone who didn't deserve it? And from Coi's perspective, was she actually doing anything wrong? Was she actively involved in a situation she should have stayed out of? Or was she simply one more person who got dragged into Blueface's constant drama through no real fault of her own? Was she complicit in creating problems? Or was she genuinely just caught in the middle of someone else's chaos? These questions matter because they get at something deeper than just one physical confrontation. They're about accountability, about who's responsible when situations explode, about whether anger directed at other women is ever justified when the real issue might be with the man they're both connected to. There's a pattern that plays out repeatedly in these situations. A man creates chaos, maintains connections with multiple women, fails to establish clear boundaries or honest communication, and then the women end up in conflict with each other while he skates by relatively unscathed. Is that what happened here? Or is this situation different somehow? And there's also the question of pregnancy and how it factors into all of this. Does being pregnant give someone a pass on certain behavior because others won't respond physically? Does it create a protective shield that can be weaponized? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're worth examining. As this situation continues to develop, with Coi potentially reconsidering legal action and public opinion largely against Chrisean's handling of the situation, there are still a lot of unknowns. Will Coi actually pursue charges now? How will Chrisean respond to the backlash? And perhaps most importantly, will there ever be any accountability for the person who may have created the conditions for this conflict in the first place? The story isn't over, and depending on what happens next, it could take several different directions. But one thing is clear. When you combine relationship drama, pregnancy, physical confrontation, and social media confession, you create a situation that people are going to have strong opinions about from every possible angle. So let's break it down and really think about this. On Chrisean's actions, did she have valid reasons to confront Coi about Blueface, or was this completely unjustified aggression? Even if she felt she had reasons, did the fact that she was pregnant make it inappropriate to initiate physical confrontation? And what about bragging about it later? Does that change how we should view the original incident? On Coi's situation, was she actually involved in creating drama, or was she an innocent party who got dragged into someone else's mess? Does her decision not to press charges initially show maturity and compassion, or did it signal that physical confrontation was somehow acceptable? And is she justified in reconsidering that decision now? On Blueface's role, to what extent is he responsible for creating the conditions that led to this confrontation? Should he face any consequences or accountability for his part in this situation? Or is the focus on the two women involved missing the bigger picture entirely? On the broader dynamics, when women in these situations end up in conflict with each other, instead of addressing issues with the man they're both connected to, what does that say about how we approach relationship drama? Is there a better way to handle these situations that doesn't result in physical confrontations? These aren't easy questions, and reasonable people might disagree on the answers. That's exactly why this situation has captured so much attention and generated so much debate. It touches on issues of accountability, judgment, pregnancy, relationships, and social media culture all at once. What's your take? Where do you stand on each aspect of this situation, and what do you think should happen next?